We all know that big life decisions like what house to buy or who to marry should not be rushed. But I have found that there are many other things in life that also need more time. Things we don't always think about, but that feel more real and meaningful when you don't rush them. So in this video, I want to share 15 of these things so that you don't just end up doing more, but doing what matters at your own pace. Let's get into it. The first one is emotional or physical healing. Whether it's a physical injury that just won't go away or something emotional like grief, heartbreak, or old trauma, trying to speed it up usually just makes things worse. I, for example, used to be really impatient with my body. I thought if I just pushed through the pain when I was having some injuries, it would somehow disappear. But surprise, surprise, it did not. And the same thing is with the emotional stuff. There were times I thought I had moved on because I wanted to, but underneath there was still something unsettled. I didn't always realize how much space I actually needed, and when I rushed it, I just felt a bit more disconnected from myself. Real, long-term healing needs time. Time to feel what you need to feel, to rebuild trust in your body or your mind yourself. Some things will take longer than you think, and some parts might stay a bit sensitive forever, and I think that is fine. The second thing not to rush is when you are designing your living spaces. It's really tempting to want your space to feel finished right away, to fill the empty corners, hang something on every wall, and make it look like a home as fast as you can. But when we rush it, there's a big chance it ends up feeling a bit off. And then you end up buying, replacing, or moving things around, trying to fix something that never had time or chance to settle. The space becomes a never-ending project instead of a place that supports you. A different approach is to pause, to live in the space first, to notice the rhythms of your day and see what is actually missing, if anything. Letting furniture, objects, and even decoration earn their place slowly helps create something that feels intentional. What matters most is how the space makes you feel, not how fast it gets finished. The third one is defining what success means to you. Success is one of those things most people never really stop to define. It's easy to just copy what's around you: more income, more recognition, more stuff. But sometimes you reach a goal and realize it doesn't feel the way you thought it would. That's what happens when goals are built from outside expectations instead of inner values. Before I started slowing down, my idea of success was exactly like that, like status, numbers, nice things. But over time, I started to redefine it, and now it's more about balance, being present, and building a life that feels good day to day. Moments that ask for your full attention. It's easy to think you are present just because you are physically somewhere. But true presence is something else. It's listening to understand, not just to reply. It's letting pauses happen without rushing to fill them. So many important moments pass without any depth because our attention is split. A quick aha, yeah, while checking your phone, or a nod without really hearing or understanding, caring even what was said. That's how connection slowly starts to fade. Being fully there doesn't require the perfect thing to say. Most of the time it's about simply showing up with your focus. When life gets busy, of course, this is way easier said than done, but I still encourage you to try your best. I have personally grown in this over the years. Before I wasn't that good, and now I consider myself pretty mediocre still, so it's still something that I really want to get better at. Because giving someone your full attention might be one of the simplest and most human ways or forms of care. Number 5, learning another language. This is one of those things we try to rush too often. We start out hoping to get fluent quickly, but when the progress is slower than expected, it's very easy to give up. The truth is, language isn't something you complete, I think. It's something you grow with. And if you try to force it, you usually end up quitting before it ever feels or gets real and useful. I have studied quite a few languages over the years: Italian, Greek, French, Arabic, Spanish, and of course English. I have always been drawn to different cultures, and learning the language gives a whole new layer of understanding to that. It's something I don't think I will ever stop doing. Like recently, I've been using Rosetta Stone to study Italian, which is also the partner of this video. Rosetta Stone is a language learning platform that uses an immersion-based approach. Instead of memorizing long vocabulary lists or translating everything into your native language, you learn how we all learned our first language. So by associating words with real-life images, native audio, and contextual clues. It helps you start thinking in the target or the language that you're learning, not just memorizing it. You can also learn at your own pace. Some days I just do one short lesson that takes a few minutes. Other days, when I have more time or energy, I go a bit deeper. If you have been thinking about learning new languages or improving in ones you already know, they offer a lifetime subscription that gives you access to all 25 of their languages forever. With the link in the description, you can get it for over 60% off. I think it's a deal definitely worth checking out. The sixth thing to not rush is when you're planning your week. So many of us overplan our lives without even realizing it. You sit down with good intentions and try to fit everything in: work, hobbies, family stuff, habits, all the projects you have been putting off. But the week always fills up super fast and your energy doesn't really get considered. Then, when things don't go as planned, the guilt usually shows up. Not because you didn't try, but because your plan was unrealistic to begin with. So a slower, more intentional way to plan would be to ask, what actually matters this week? What needs space and what can wait? One interesting idea I came across recently was from Cal Newport to double your project timelines. Most of us are terrible at estimating how long something will take, especially if we want to do it well. I know doubling might sound like a lot, but at least thinking about this brings your plan closer to what's actually realistic. The next one is recovering from burnout. We all wish burnout could be fixed with a weekend off, a few good nights of sleep, a break from work, and then everything feels better. But it might need way more than that. A bit of rest can help, but surface level rest doesn't get to the real cause. You might still feel tired even after doing all the right things to rest. And when you see others bouncing back from busier times faster, it's easy to start rushing this process. But real recovery takes more than this quick reset. It often needs more rest than feels reasonable, not just for your body, but for your thoughts, your schedule, and whatever patterns wore you down in the first place. So stop asking, how do I get back to normal? And maybe start asking, what needs to change so this doesn't happen again? That's when real recovery begins. Number 8, changing old habits. It's easy to think changing a habit is just about willpower. Like if you try hard enough, it will stick. But I think that habits are more about systems than effort, and about who you believe you are, not just what you do. When you rush change, it often doesn't last. You go all in for a week or two, and then one slip makes it feel like you have failed. The habits that have stuck for me, like for example short moments of meditation or stillness, were gently introduced into my life. Like I never told myself I had to do them every day and for a certain amount of time. The goal was to keep them in my life, even if it's just a few minutes, and this mindset made it so much easier to keep going when there wasn't so much pressure behind it. 9. Understanding who you are. There's a lot of pressure to figure yourself out, to know who you are, what you do, and what you stand for, all by a certain age. Often even as a teenager, like we are expected to make these big, decisive choices about our future before we have actually had time to actually even live and figure that out. When you tie who you are to roles, careers, or how others see you, life can start to feel more like a script than something that you are actually living. But who you are is not something you figure out once and then it never changes. It changes with seasons, with experience, with what life brings. I have reinvented myself slowly over the years, not all at once, and I feel like I'm still becoming someone new every year. I'm still figuring things out, and somehow that feels more real than any fixed label. 10. Decluttering sentimental items. There's often this pressure to sort through everything all at once, do this one big decluttering session, to make fast decisions and then just move on. But because something no longer fits your life practically, it doesn't mean that you are instantly ready to let it go. You are allowed to take your time, to keep something a little longer until it feels okay to release it. I didn't declutter every item from my childhood right away when I started decluttering. There were a few things I held on to for years, not because I really needed them for any practical reasons, but just because I wasn't ready to let them go. So don't take extra pressure from this part of the process. Let go when you feel calm and when you feel like it's the right choice, not when you feel like you are rushing this choice. Simplifying digital life. Going offline sounds great in theory. Delete the apps, shut off notifications, take a break. But again, if you don't understand why you are overwhelmed in the first place, why you want to do this, it rarely works long term. A digital detox might bring short-term relief, but if the habits underneath don't change, the noise usually comes right back. Our modern lives anyway are often based on that, they rely very much on these certain apps, tools and platforms, so removing everything at once is probably quite unrealistic. You just end up re-downloading everything and feeling even more frustrated. What really helped me was slowing down and noticing the patterns first, reducing things gradually, fewer tabs, fewer inboxes, less noise overall, then finding better alternatives instead of just cutting things out completely. The next one is deep work. Real focus doesn't begin the moment you sit down. It takes time to settle, and if your mind is still jumping between messages, tasks, and distractions, it's very hard to go deeper than the surface. It's hard to reach kind of the flow that allows you to do quality work. What helps is protecting longer blocks of time, not necessarily hours and hours, just time that is undisturbed. Sometimes a short, focused 1 hour can do more than an entire distracted day. It also helps to slow your brain down before starting that deep work. So doing nothing for a few minutes, letting your mind clear a little. I have learned that doing less but doing it well is always more valuable than doing a lot that doesn't really lead anywhere. 13. Creating a vision for your life. When you rush to define your life's direction, it often ends up being shaped by what sounds good, not what actually feels right. You might set goals that look super impressive, but don't really match your values. I have found that a better way to treat that vision is to treat it like a rhythm. So experimenting, noticing what feels aligned, making small changes and adjusting as you grow. I remember writing down my first vision for my life maybe 8 or 9 years ago. It felt quite clear to me back then, yeah, this is it, I know what I'm doing, but since then it has changed many times. Not because I was wrong back then, but because I have changed too. Some things I wrote down just don't fit me anymore. I have removed parts that were based on my values I no longer have, or ideas I thought I should want. So they are not anymore part of my life vision. And I have also added new things, like small, meaningful details that wouldn't have made any sense to my younger self, but feel very important now. 14. Building or giving real trust. Trust takes time, and that's exactly why it matters. It's not something you can demand, declare, or expect right away from yourself or anyone else. The more you try to rush this I think the less real it tends to feel. I'm someone who really likes to trust people. I want to believe the best. But I have learned that the kind of trust that truly feels safe, the real trust, doesn't come from quick connections, just listening to people for a while. It comes from time, from showing up again and again, and from small things that add up. And if it takes time for trust to grow on your side or theirs, that doesn't mean that something is necessarily wrong. It usually means it's being built thoughtfully, with care, and that kind of trust is the kind that really lasts. The routines that actually recharge you. Self-care routines can be a great thing until they start feeling like pressure and end up doing the opposite. It's very easy to fall into the trap of packing too much into your routine, trying to make it perfect or as productive as possible. And suddenly, what was meant to recharge you just feels like another to-do list, another thing you have to get done. What actually works is building it slowly. The routines that stay with you are usually the ones that feel good to do, feel great to do, not the ones that sound impressive or you think that you actually should be doing because everyone else is doing that. A real self-care routine doesn't take from you, it always gives something back. Thank you so much for watching. Check out Rosetta Stone using my link in the description. And remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one. Ciao.